Ladies and gentlemen, we are here, episode 6 of The Power and the Punchline. Rudy, people didn't think we'd get through episode 2, man. We're here at 6 now. How you feeling?
Listen, you told me we wasn't going to make it this far, but we made it.
I did think we were breaking up after episode 1, but, we proved that we still good. We still good. Still family.
Absolutely. We got a little fan base brewing too, man.
We are climbing, we are chart ranking, and it's all because of our fans. It definitely isn't us. I think, hearing your personal stories, bro, that brought out something that people wanted to hear and see. So people wanted to get to know Rudy Rush behind the scenes a little bit, man.
Yeah, if you think that's something, we got some time. We're gonna be together for a while, so it's gonna be a lot more stories. I got a couple of people from the comedy world called me about the Chris Rock story, and they were there as well, and they had the similar take because a lot of people don't know those little nuances that go along with being a comedian.
Yeah.
How we protect each other or how we supposed to kind of look out. And there was a point that was made, which I didn't know I was making. It was just a true story that kind of really turned people's opinions around about certain people and certain things. So, we're doing our thing out here. We're servicing the community.
Damn right we are. Damn right we are. And today, I think we're going to service a lot of people too, man. Today, I think, Rudy, we want to talk about the reality of surviving childhood adversity and those experiences and breaking generational curses that people may or may not believe in, but I'm here to tell you that they're real. And Rudy, I want to start with this stat, bro. I didn't think it was the truth. I knew it was a big number. I didn't think it was the truth. But 1 out of every 2, so 50% of U.S. adults have experienced some form of adverse childhood experience, meaning whether it was a bad household, abuse, neglect, dysfunction. 1 out of every 2, 50% of U.S. adults have experienced some type of what people would identify as an adverse childhood experience. That's according to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, which is crazy. And here's something that will blow your mind away. People that have experienced 4 childhood dysfunctions, abuse, neglect, whatever it is, if you've experienced 4 of those, those are the people that are more prone to depression, addiction, chronic health issues later on in life, man. So your childhood and how you accept or not accept those experiences have a lasting effect later on in life. And I know that that's not mind-blowing to most people. Most people understand that.
Yeah.
But what got me and what has me thinking is this, man. If 1 out of every 2 people that you see went through something in life, what that tells me, Rudy, is like 1 out of every 2 people you see needs a hug. And I don't mean that in a joking way. I mean, 1 out of every 2 people would appreciate just a solid hug. I got you. I'm here for you, man. Like, when you hear those stats, how does that make Rudy Rush feel?
Well, you know what's so funny? We were talking about this. People know we prep for these shows. And when we were talking about it, it was more just digging into, how we're finding out things about each other as being, brothers and working with each other. It's like, yo, what have you been through? Or you hear a story. And I got to be honest, I heard a story on your podcast, which is doing quite well by the way, Mick Unplugged. But, you had something on there and I didn't know it about you. And that's the funny thing about life. You could be sitting next to someone and riding with them for years and not understand like they've been through some traumatic situation because we all kind of tend to think we are the only ones who went through what we went through. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a trip to kind of find out that, and today we're going to dig a little deeper into it by talking about ourselves. But then there's some other situations that I've known some people or I have people in my life, like my younger daughter. She's going through something that I've never been through, a loss of a parent, at least not in my adolescent years. I lost my dad in 2019. He was in his 70s. I was well into my 40s. But for her to lose her mom at 14, it's a lot of obstacles involved with that and a lot more traumatic outside of just the norm. The possible verbal abuse or things that other people go through to lose a parent that was a close friend. There's a lot of barricades and things that I have to deal with that's very difficult. So I was real interested in just jumping into this topic today.
I'm here for it, man. I think sometimes I hate to talk about my past because I've kind of turned the page on a lot of those things. But sometimes talking through it is like therapy, I put you in therapy to talk about you and Steve Harvey, right? Like episode 3.
Yeah, you did that, yeah.
Episode 3, Pound the Punchline. Go check that one out. I'm ready for this therapy session. I have no idea because I told you, yeah, let's talk about it. But I was like, I'll be an open book. this will be my therapy session. And I think a lot of people are going to get that out. So I'm gonna let Rudy ask me questions, get me to talk about certain things, and I'm gonna do the same for him. And I think, especially for men that are watching and listening, these are things we got to do, right? These are things we got to do. I'm ready for it, Rudy.
Okay, so I was thinking about it, and more than just a question, and more than just talking about it, I really wanted to kind of dig a little deeper. And if you're open to it, which you say you are, I watch you. You watch your friends,
Yeah.
especially when you get older, and we have a special relationship. Not only you're my friend, my brother, but you're a mentor to me in the sense of like helping me understand certain things about I've been kind of knocking my head on this comedy wall and some radio stuff. Like I wanted to pivot. And so that's where we are. But I'm watching. And not just because, you're a friend. I really like you. You're a good guy to be around. And I watch you with your family and how you are with your wife. And when I saw that clip from your show, it disturbed me a little bit because I felt like I knew you better. Someone would meet you and think like, oh, this guy came from a good situation. He didn't have oatmeal. He had porridge, breakfast every day, and great walks to school and conversations with family members. I met your cousin, so you come from a tight knit, seemingly a tight knit
Yeah.
community. You talked about your grandfather, and I was just like, man, this guy had his grandfather that just kind of like who was in charge of the family. So I thought you came from this background that in my world didn't exist for me. I knew it existed, but not for me. And so to hear you talk about how your mom went through these trials and tribulations, which become 3 to 4 times more yours, to
Yeah.
see somebody you love like that, as much as I feel and love for my mother, to see her to go through the things that she went through, she doesn't realize, even though that was her trauma, it was 20 times my trauma because to see her go through that. So I guess I want to start with, you know, I know a little bit about your past, but dealing with your mom, were you an only child? Do you have siblings? Like, were you the only one witnessing these things going on with your mom? Let's go there. Like in the beginning, when did it start? Basically, how old were you, or was it
Yeah.
always present in your life?
Yeah, man. So I I can remember every day of my life from like the age of 3, time before I turned 4. It's a weird thing, man, and I can't explain it to people to where they grasp it. And I don't mean moments. I mean, I can literally remember every single day.
Mm,
And growing up, I thought everybody could do that. And so I've been able to piece together who I am, how I got there, and all those things. But when did it begin? Like I said, I can remember every day of my life somewhere between 3 and 4.
mm,
And my sister was just born.
mm,
So I have 3 siblings. So I'm the oldest. My sister's 3.5 years younger than me, and my brother is 18 years younger than me. And my brother was born right before I left for college. So just to put some paint on the canvas for everybody.
yeah, yeah.
But my sister was just born, and I remember hearing my dad yelling at my mom, like yelling. And I remember pounding, right? Or thumping, like thumping noise. And so at 3, like I understood what that was.
Mm,
And I'm not gonna exaggerate and say every day, but weekly that was a recurrence,
mm,
right? But I also knew as I got older, and it probably started at 10, or not probably, it started at 10, that I couldn't let that be reality, man. Like I couldn't
mm,
let that be the norm because for the most part, nobody knew that it was going on. Nobody knew the abuse and yes, physical. But I think what was more impactful for me was the emotional, the financial abuse
mm.
that my mom went through. Like my mom used to have the greatest smile. And I remember there were years that I never saw that smile.
Wow. you know and I'm not to cut you off, but as a kid you remember those things so vividly when a person turns off that light, and they don't even realize it. And so to you know how long did your dad stay with you guys? How long before that abuse kind of came to a stop? Because when it stops in everybody else's mind, it still continues because the
Yeah.
residual is still there.
Yeah. So here's the crazy thing. And I say this in full sincerity because I know that there are other people that this is going to click for. I was raised in a 2-parent household, but raised by a single mom at the same time. Like my dad was physically there most of the time, all the time, but emotionally, mentally, fatherly, nah, never there. Like I can count on one hand, at max 7 fingers, like true